Hello friends, welcome back to the Spiritual Nomad YouTube channel and podcast feed. My name is Luke Bricker, the Spiritual Nomad, and I want to talk to you really briefly today about the purpose of your emotions whenever it comes to your spirituality and validating your emotions when it comes to your spiritual life. Some of you have grown up in the Christian faith, the Christian tradition, and sadly here in the West, we have really vilified the emotion whenever it comes to a church setting, when it comes to experiencing God. We are warning people about not to get too caught up in the waves of their emotion, and we use the term, they're a feely person, as sort of a derogatory way of explaining somebody who might be deeply experiencing God in a time of musical worship. And I want to just demystify, or rather increase the mystification of your emotions. Depends on how you want to look at it. So for me, I am someone who grew up in more of an emotional environment when it comes to music and worship in church. I grew up in kind of a third wave charismatic movement called the Vineyard, and it was very much so like an offshoot of a Pentecostal sort of vibe. So not as extreme as, like a Benny Hinn or something like that by any means. It was very relaxed, very approachable, but certainly very charismatic. And so any sort of charismatic expression or experience really relies on some level of the engagement of our emotions. And I would say that that's actually a really good thing. But for a period of time, I went through a season where I didn't think that was a good thing. About 8 years ago, 9 years ago, 10 years ago, was really convinced about Calvinism. If you're familiar with that at all, I was really convinced about that our emotions are leading us away from God, not to God, that we're getting distracted by our emotions, not, quote, edified by our emotions. But really the only way that we truly grew in spiritual wisdom and nature was through reading the Bible, was through engaging our intellect, was through having conversations that are, using the prefrontal cortex of our mind and really analyzing and engaging, hermeneutics and things of that nature. And that all has its place, but I went through a season where I really demonized the idea that we could be whisked away by our emotions into a transcendent state. And even though I knew that in my head, experientially, I knew that to be completely wrong. In my few years of hyper-conservatism, deep down in my soul, I knew that I was missing it completely. I really did. I was just going with a particular idea because it was hip, it was cool, it was trendy, it was something I could grab on, it was messages and sermons that I could rip off easily online, and that was really attractive to me. But I knew deep down in my soul that I was missing a major piece of that. And I would suggest that that major piece that I was missing was the affirmation of my emotion in the mode and method of my spirituality. And so I would suggest to you that emotion is the primary way that God interacts with us and draws us into transcendent experiences. I would suggest to you that if we engage our emotion, are getting a taste and a foresight of what a truly divine inspired life looks like. Because if you look at all the attributes of the outcome of living a life of spirit, you see things that are directly connected to emotion. Things like love, things like joy and patience and self-control and generosity, faithfulness. All of these things are not really analytical in nature. These are very emotion-based attributes. Love, a lot of times, doesn't make sense. Compassion, a lot of times, doesn't make sense. Forgiveness absolutely doesn't make sense. If you're following the old law of cause and effect, forgiveness doesn't make sense. Because essentially what you're saying is, I'm choosing to move past the law of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and I'm choosing love that covers a multitude of wrongdoing. And that is an emotion that is stirred within us that gives us a glimpse and a taste into what it truly means to step into the divinity and the Christ that is in each and every one of us. So when we're engaging our emotion, when we are in touch with the emotional side of our being, we are touching the divinity that religion brings to us, because religion is set up not really to engage our intellect, although it can. We've made it to be that with theology and systematic theology and all of this stuff. But I would suggest that isn't really getting to the root of the purpose of religion. That the purpose of religion is to engage the divine in us and in our community and in others, and to see the direct connection and engagement of the divine nature in us and in all things around us. And I would suggest that you're not going to find that as much in a textbook as you are by digging into the depths of yourself and looking at the reality of these emotions coming to life within you. Seeing unconditional love being birthed within you is a direct connection of the divinity that's placed in you. That's not something that can be looked at under a microscope. That's only something that can be by bliss or grace or by pure spirit can be awakened within us. And so I just want to make this short video to affirm your emotion, and that those moments where you are feeling transcendent, where you're feeling so moved outside of what seems like the physical reality, that those are the moments that you're tapping into the amazing majesty and beauty of spirit in union with physical matter. That we are physical matter, but yet engaging this spiritual aspect of us. And emotion is the bridge, that is the means and method that spirit uses to bring us to life, to the divinity that has been placed in us. Paul says, Christ in me, the hope of glory, that this piece of divinity has been placed and imparted into the depths of your code as a person. And the way that that comes alive is through the engagement of things like love and joy and gratitude and giving of yourself for whatever sacrificial thing might be in front of you, giving yourself wholly and fully to the here and now. And that creates a transcendent experience. Maybe that's through music and worship at church, or maybe that is through, yoga, through meditation. Maybe that is through a retreat out in the woods. Maybe that's through ecstatic dancing. Whatever you might choose to transcend in your emotion, that is where you will find the depths of divinity. So if you like this video, please subscribe. I'll have more sort of rants and ramblings coming your way. You can check out some of the other videos I've posted. Please leave a comment. Let me know how you have engaged your emotion and experienced the divine in some way. Also follow on Instagram at @the_spiritual_nomad, and we can connect there too. So until next time, friends, engage your emotions and see your divinity awaken.